methodology and run with it. I think that was part of the objective for this fair, but your point is very well taken because we haven't got that many in that sort of category. I would want to challenge our women, our ladies who are here, because I know sorghum and millet, when it comes to really using sorghum and millet, they are the experts. And I would like to hear from one of them what they consider as a critical issue in relation to the work that sorghum and millet, that can be done on sorghum and millet to facilitate, to make it easier for it to be utilized and reduce drudgery and all that stuff. Is there anybody, any of the lady participants who would want to make a comment or two in relation to sorghum and millet based on what we had? No takers. Okay. All right. I get a hand there. Very good.
Merci. Je m'appelle Hadizatou Koubra. Je viens du Niger. Je suis promotrice d'un produit qui est fait à base du mil et du sorgho. C'est un produit qui est très consommé au Niger. C'est vraiment l'aliment de base, si on peut le dire. C'est une bouillie qu'on appelle le foura. Le Nigeria connaît ça, n'est-ce pas? Voilà, donc le foura. Au Niger, le foura, c'est l'aliment de base, en ville comme en campagne, parce qu'en campagne, c'est consommé presque 3 fois par jour. Et en ville, quand on mange, il faut nécessairement consommer foura. C'est ça. Donc maintenant, le travail du mil et du sorgho pour faire le foura est très pénible chez les femmes. Très, très pénible. À commencer d'abord, je laisse le côté, comment on appelle ça? Avant d'amener ça même au moulin, il y a un travail qui est fait au préalable et généralement, ça se fait à la main. Maintenant, après, pour épirer, parce que le mil et le sorgho, c'est des choses, le travail se fait à même le sol dans les campagnes. Donc maintenant, pour l'utilisation, la première utilisation, il faut épirer. Faute de quoi, donc on va consommer un produit qui est très néfaste pour la santé parce qu'on sait que la consommation du sable, donc de l'alimentation, c'est très néfaste à la santé. Donc là, il faut faire beaucoup d'efforts pour enlever le sable du mil. Maintenant, pour faire le foura proprement dit, hormis les machines qu'on utilise, il y a un préalable, un travail qui se fait à la machine où on va amener pour faire au moulin pour faire la farine. Maintenant, après la farine, il faut venir faire des boules pour mettre ça à la cuisson. Maintenant, après la cuisson, les boules cuites, il faut les mettre dans un mortier. C'est ça le travail le plus pénible de foura. Parce que moi, jusque-là, moi, je n'ai pas vu un mécanisme, donc une machine qui est faite pour faire ce travail. Et là, c'est très pénible, c'est très pénible. Là, il faut vraiment piler le mil cuit, les boules de mil cuites pour les transformer en pâte, une pâte homogène un peu molle qu'il faut peut-être après mélanger avec du lait pour prendre. Là, c'est très dur. Il faille peut-être vraiment chercher un mécanisme qui va aider donc ce processus de compactage donc du foura. C'est très important parce que les femmes en souffrent.
Let's give her a round of applause. Let's appreciate her. for voicing that this is a key area. Moi-même, j'aime le fourrage, mais je n'ai pas su que c'est très difficile à le préparer. Pour moi, je prends de l'eau et je fais le fourrage comme ça. Je mets du sucre, un peu de lait et c'est fini. Et pour moi, c'est très simple. Mais maintenant, j'ai entendu que le processus, c'est vraiment très compliqué. Donc ça, c'est le docteur Fatonji qui peut, s'il y a une explication, où il y a quelques travaux qu'on peut faire au niveau des transformations qui peut aider les femmes qui travaillent surtout sur ça. Avant que vous répondiez, il y a une dernière. Oh là là. Non. Je vais donner l'opportunité après ça.
OK. Je commence à remercier les présentateurs pour la qualité de la présentation. Moi, c'est Mme Diassana Achediko, la représentante du comité régional de concertation des ruraux de Sikasso. En même temps, je suis la conseillère genre et équité sociale de la structure. Et je commence par la dernière phrase du présentateur qui est une phrase pour moi très pertinente et puis la solution pour les femmes, pour l'autonomisation des femmes. Il a dit rendre l'agriculture en Afrique un business, qui est très, très pertinente pour moi. Parce que quand on regarde les différentes présentations et vu l'importance sur la composition nutritionnelle de ces différents produits, de ces différentes spéculations qui est le sorgho et le mil. Et avec le COVID-19, nous avons initié une innovation au niveau de la structure, c'est faire la mise en relation entre les transformatrices et la Fédération régionale des associations de santé, qu'on appelle FERASCOM. Cette mise en relation a facilité non seulement de valoriser un produit qui est à base du maïs, qu'on va profiter de cette occasion et avec les différents éléments qu'on a montrés sur le plan nutritionnel du sorgho, que c'est possible aussi de mettre à l'échelle le sorgho comme une expérience. Et par rapport à ces produits, moi, je crois que le marché est là, parce qu'avec la mise en relation, on est en train de fournir des SESCOM dans ce cadre pour ces produits. Et c'est une expérience aussi qui peut favoriser beaucoup la transformation et aussi en même temps aider les transformatrices à être autonomes. Moi, je crois que cette foire, d'après la femme de l'UMA, c'est donnant et recevoir. Moi, je crois que c'est tout. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because of time, okay, let's.
Ok, merci. Je félicite le Dr Fatonji pour la brillante présentation qui nous donne l'occasion d'ajouter des points. Je crois que comme les interventions des dames l'ont bien souligné, moi, ce point focal TAAT au Tchad, du point compact mil et sorgho, notamment en travaillant justement sur la question de transformation dont la dame du Niger venait de parler, parce que c'est à peu près la même chose au Tchad, parce que les femmes avaient émis la transformation surtout du mil pour après prendre avec du lait. À un moment donné, c'est un peu compliqué. Et donc, je voudrais dire qu'à la prochaine phase, au-delà déjà du fait qu'on ait travaillé sur des variétés à double usage, c'est-à-dire que l'utilisation des tiges également pour l'alimentation du bétail et puis les grains pour l'alimentation. Je veux dire, il faut qu'on mette l'accent sur la consommation, double consommation humaine et animale, aussi bien les grains. C'est-à-dire quand on arrive au niveau des transformations, vous savez très bien que dans nos zones sahéliennes, on utilise le son qu'on enlève avant de laisser les grains ainsi nettoyés pour la transformation alimentaire après. Les éleveurs sont très informés de la situation parce que chez nous, en période de chaleur en fait, en saison sèche, c'est la période que nous, on appelle la période de soudure pour les animaux. Les éleveurs cherchent à récupérer ces sons-là et ils essaient de récupérer également les animaux très malingres qui risquent de mourir. Ils les dégagent de côté et ils les alimentent avec ça pour récupérer. Aussi, quand on parle de transformation, ne nous arrêtons pas uniquement au décortiquage. Il y a des femmes qui font des transformations locales pour les bières locales. Et là, les éleveurs également sont informés. Ils récupèrent les drèches pour récupérer leurs animaux également très fatigués et tout. Et donc, prochainement, je pense qu'il va falloir qu'on travaille sur la mise en marché. Qui dit mise en marché veut dire transformer vraiment de manière que ça soit très rapidement consommable. Et pour les tiges également. Maintenant, pour les machines à broyer ou bien à transformer, dont la dame venait de dire que c'est pénible de faire manuellement, il faudrait qu'on renforce les capacités des artisans locaux pour fabriquer localement. Parce que commander ça, d'ailleurs, de fois, ça va revenir très cher et ça met du temps à parvenir. Donc, désormais, je crois que sur nos sites d'intervention, on va essayer de développer en même temps les systèmes de mise en marché et en même temps le renforcement des capacités des artisans qu'on puisse faciliter la tâche un peu aux dames. Merci.
Thank you very much. Now, very brief response from Fatonji, and then we'll move ahead. Thank you.
D'accord, merci beaucoup. Je remercie les intervenants par rapport aux commentaires surtout. Et mon collègue point focal au Tchad a couvert déjà beaucoup de points par rapport à la transformation. Je pense que la préoccupation de la dame du Niger est très importante, ce qu'on appelle le destoning, c'est-à-dire l'élimination des pierres dans les semences disons les graines de mil. C'est vraiment un point crucial parce que sans ça, on mange souvent des produits avec beaucoup de graines et puis bon, les dents en souffrent et puis l'estomac aussi. Maintenant, le problème concernant la mécanisation du fourrage, je pense que pour le moment, il n'y a pas encore une technologie développée dans ce sens. Peut-être que la recherche va continuer par travailler là-dessus. Néanmoins, je sais qu'au niveau de l'INRA, il y a beaucoup de choses qui ont été faites dans le cadre disons, pour assister les transformatrices localement, pour la préparation de couscous et autres. Mais pour le fourrage, je ne pense pas qu'il y ait déjà pour le moment quelque chose. Peut-être qu'il faut qu'on continue le travail pour pouvoir arriver là et être en mesure de faciliter la tâche des femmes. Bon, le premier des gens du gouvernement, bon, ça, pour pouvoir, disons, attirer les investisseurs afin qu'ils puissent y mettre les siens dans la chaîne de valeur. Je pense que des efforts doivent être faits dans ce sens parce que, évidemment, ce qu'on constate pour la plupart du temps dans les pays, c'est que ces cultures, malgré qu'elles sont des cultures vivrières, sont même négligées par les gouvernants. Parce qu'on cherche tout de suite ce qui donne de l'argent. Des pays où le maïs n'est pas une culture importante et pourtant, quand on pose la question, c'est le maïs qu'on prend comme culture pour être financé. Évidemment, nous devons continuer la campagne. Il ne faut jamais se fatiguer. Continuons parce que c'est de ça que vivent nos producteurs dans les zones sèches. D'accord. Je pense que, bon, je ne vais pas trop traîner parce qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de temps. Merci beaucoup pour votre intervention et vos commentaires.
Merci, Dr. Fatonji. Okay, thank you very much. Now we are moving from sorghum and millet to another commodity. Sorghum and millet, you have to go to the Sahel. But this other commodity we are talking about, all the way from Sahel down to the humid zone, you can find it. And that is rice. It doesn't mean rice is more important than sorghum and millet. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that rice, you find it different types of rice all over the belt. And to talk to us about the technologies within the Rice Compact, I'd like to call on Dr. Asiedu, who is the head of the Rice Compact of TAAT. Unless you have 20 minutes, to be able to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Kasi, for a very good introduction. Yeah, I think, where's Lamia? Yeah, your concern really justifies why TAAT came to being, because the technologies were with the CGs, and I think in the morning we heard that, where everybody was saying the technologies were on the shelf. And now with TAAT, they have been deployed to the countries, to the farmers, to where they are needed. Can I have the presentation? Yes, let me mention Orlox. And the Orlox here is the first on the page. Personally, I call Orlox the champion variety, because that's why a variety that everybody's looking for now. And as the name shows, the last three letters is Lux. I mean, in English, we know Lux. In French, they call it Lux. It's a soup that, smells very good. And that's exactly what Lux is. And it also has very good grain quality. And so it's been sought after by most farmers, seed producers, consumers. It's the variety of the day. I'm presenting this on behalf of my colleagues who constitute the team for the TAAT Rice Compact. Next, please. Okay, I think I can even use this. Okay, the presentation outline is given as follows. I'll give the Rice Compact objectives and countries we are covering. Then give you the production, consumption, imports, and then rice self-sufficiency league table. Then go to the technologies, the climate smart varieties, the good agricultural practices, the post-harvest technology, and market access. Then conclusions and the way forward. Okay. Africa consumes a lot of rice, but we produce not enough to feed ourselves. So you can see that in 2018, about 18.6 million tons of meal rice was produced on the continent, but we consumed about 32.9 tons of rice and imported about 13.9 tons of rice, costing about $5.9 billion US. That is yearly. So the production consumption gap is about 42%, which is a lot. The objective of TAAT in general, the development objective is to allow small scale farmers access high yielding agricultural technologies to improve their food production and assure food security and raise rural incomes. In fact, originally, the TAAT Rice Compact is operating in 8 countries. And as you can see, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Mali, Madagascar, Nigeria, Senegal, and Uganda. But as time evolved, there were demands from other countries. About 7 other countries came in because they needed seeds, not just seeds, but seeds of varieties that are very performing and also consumer preferred. So we need to bring them in. And also there were some donor projects from African Development Bank, from USAID, from Islamic Development Bank, and from other donors who also needed seed for the private enterprises to multiply. And we ourselves partnered with many private sector enterprises, which I will show later on. So now we are covering about 15 countries. From 8, we've added many more countries to make it 15 now. And we keep on growing because demand keep on coming. Just showing you the self-sufficiency league to show countries where they are in terms of being self-sufficient in rice production to meet their consumption. And you can see those high up there, like Egypt, Tanzania, Madagascar, Mali, Chad, Nigeria, Guinea, Sierra Leone, I mean, up to maybe Senegal, they are about 50% self-sufficiency, more than 50%. Some are close to about 100%, you know, and then those down. So you could see that we still have a lot to do because about half of these countries are still below 50% self-sufficiency. So it means we need to increase, increase productivity to increase, production. And we know that low productivity obviously comes from many things. Low use, I think it has been mentioned this morning that I will not repeat. So the first group of technologies, the climate smart, responsive varieties, and then the hybrids. The NERICAs, later on you will see how they are being demanded in terms of being compared to each other. They are well being sought after, especially NERICA L19 sub1. Orylox, as I say, is the champion variety, and they all have various attributes. If we look at the NERICAs, they are tolerant to diseases and pests, and also they have very good grain characters. Orylox, similarly high yielding, good grain quality, short duration. Farmers can produce it 2 or 3 times in a year, which means that productivity or production can increase through multiple cropping in a year. Then there are 4, which is upland. Farmers in Madagascar, for example, are getting between 3 to 4 tons per hectare. Getting close to the potential. Then the WAP, which is very popular in Cote d'Ivoire. And then we have in Ghana, the Agra rice. Faro, for the Faros, Nigeria, the varieties were released as Faros. Nigeria is really championing the production of seeds and getting a lot of seeds from us and multiplying. We are working with about 12 companies in Nigeria. And if Nigeria comes in, you can see the volumes of seeds that are going and the volumes of seeds that are being produced. Yearly, they produce average of about 40,000 tons of rice seed, which is about half of the total production in the sub-region, West Africa. And we have a business model, which we use to deploy the seeds. And now we have constituted that model that is from the breeder, the public sector. We bring in, the NAS are in there. Crop research, for example, was in terms of deploying breeder seeds to the private sector. We partnered with them. Narrow in Uganda, the NAS in all the 8 countries that we operate in. So the public sector still on the breeder seeds and also the hybrids. Then the private sector comes in. And now we have put them on we have constituted a platform called the Consortium for Seed Enterprises and Millers. And most of the enterprises in the region have come in. We have about 49 enterprises who we are working with. And about 40 are on the platform. And we are bringing in the NAS and the other seed stakeholders, such as the quality control agencies on the platform. And the platform is very interesting that the private sector themselves are coming in there and proposing contributions to support the sustainability of this platform. In short, we call it the COSEM RE. So it's a PPP arrangement that we use to deploy the seeds. In terms of demand for the seeds, we have about 3-4 hubs. Ghana, because it was focused on the country, but in Bay, in Cote d'Ivoire, it's one of the hubs that we deploy the seeds. And you can see, as I said earlier, Orylox is the leading variety in terms of being deployment and also being requested. Then we have other varieties, the NERICAs, etc., that are all lined up here. The ARICAs are coming in. I must say that the ARICAs have come to replace the NERICAs. So I'm here to announce that as people ask for NERICAs, the ARICAs are the latest, and we want to push the ARICAs because they are better than the NERICAs. We need to promote it. In fact, for the NERICAS, because there was a project to promote NERICAS from the African Development Bank, it went very far. The RCAS are there better than the NERICAS. So we possibly in TAAT 2, we do well to push a lot of the RCAS. So you could see that at Mbe, where a lot of the seeds are produced, Orylox is champion. In Senegal here, St. Louis is Sahel 108. The Sahel series are being developed in Senegal at the Africa Rice Station because they are tolerant to the stresses of the Sahel. So they are very resilient in terms of stresses that prevail in the Sahel. And Sahel 108 is leading in terms of the varieties that are being solicited. And we are deploying to the private sector. We are working with 8 private sector enterprises here in Senegal. We produce about 76.1 tons of breeder seeds that have been deployed to 15 countries. And they are being multiplied into thousands of tons of certified seeds. So that's why I was looking for Lamia. So your prayer has been answered. Now, if you need Orylox, it's no problem. TAAT has come to answer your concern. It's available. We are deploying. In fact, we use aircraft to deploy. When the COVID came in, we have to sort to using DHL because DHL was the only means of transport, and it consumed a lot of our money. But we have to do it. We needed to deploy. So we're still deploying the seeds, and I think it's making a lot of impact in the countries. As I said, the private sector came in. The COSEMRI, that is the Consortium for Seed Enterprises and Millers, is private sector driven, and they proposed some fees to pay. Some are going for platinum, some are going for gold, some are going for royalties, some are going for licensing, etc. So they are trying to, pay their way onto the platform for them to get an income to support seed deployment, which is a very good idea. Here is the second technology, our good agricultural practices. That's a package of the practices from land preparation, nursery management, up to harvesting. And it's a package that we're promoting in the countries. And then along with the rice advice, which is a digital tool that accompanies the good agricultural practices. It's a digital tool that is used to efficiently apply inputs, especially fertilizers. And it's done in such a way that you do not get waste in terms of applying fertilizer. You apply it accurately, and there's a way of determining the level of fertilizer you need and other inputs that you need. And services are being provided. The youth have taken it as businesses, because Nigeria is a big business in Nasarawa State. They've taken it, they put the app on their, either on their tablets or they put it on their Android phone, and they provide services to the farmers and seed enterprises. There's a model that I'll show you, the business model that they're using, and it's engaging the youth a lot to support the farmers. The Smart Valley technology is a way, special way of preparing the valleys so that it will be very more productive. So there's a Smart Valley technology that's also being used. And what is also being done is that now the integrating fisheries into it. And my colleague agronomist is working on the Smart Valley, using fishes in there has been able to reduce the use of fertilizer. In fact, at a point, it doesn't even use fertilizer. With the fish rice integration, fertilizer was not needed. You feed the fish, whatever drops fertilizers, and he was comparing it to where fertilizer is used, and the yields were about the same. So it's very economical. The Smart Valley technology is very economical. We can put in fishes, and he's tried various combinations, and they are all very productive in terms of getting good yield of rice and getting good yield of fish, which give you double gains. These are some of the economics of the rice advice. It increases yield, margin. After adding your seeds and your fertilizer, etc., by using the rice advice, you get extra yield. For example, there was a yield increase of about 0.6 to 1.8 tons per hectare. That's additional, which also gave a gain of about $100 to $200 per hectare. Very, very good, very, very good. We're developing this for the youth and then also for PDAC, for building the capacity of trainers, for them to train the youth, etc., in using this rice advice technology to advance the increase in productivity that we're all looking for. Post-harvest. Yes, I think we've been talking about a lot of processing, and we are aware and very conscious of it. Post-harvest starts with harvesting, and there's a machine that has been designed to thresh after harvesting. It's designed in such a way that it threshes out the grain or the paddy in a way that is quite uniform. In fact, working with the women processors, they are very cautious of the paddy that they process. They say if the paddy is not of good quality, the processed rice is not of good quality and the market would not accept it. So they are very cautious and they contract paddy producers and aggregators to get good quality paddy for them to process. And they are even linking to seed producers that they want to make sure that their paddy producers get good quality seed to produce paddy for them to get access to good raw material and then respond to the market. And on their platform, the market women and the supermarkets are also on the platform. So they get feedback from the market, the responses from the market. And they know that if the quality of the processed rice is not good, it will not move. So they are conscious about it and they are working towards the quality, improving the quality, which is very good. And the rice that they are producing, very competitive to imported rice. If you look at the machine here, is the gem power boiler. The gem power boiler replaces the traditional power boilers, which is used very rudimentary means of processing, produces a lot of heat to the detriment of the woman's health, smoke. It uses a lot of wood. I mean, in terms of environmental issues, deforestation, and also the rice that are milled, the husk is left. I mean, it goes waste, but it also, gives environmental problems in terms of pollution, how to dispose of it, etc. But the rice germ technology uses the husk. The women who use the technology don't suffer from heat burns and also smoke-related sicknesses. In fact, the women platform in Benin say, one of the women was saying that even the dress that he brings from home after finishing the processing can wear the same dress to anywhere. Previously, he couldn't do that because of the smoke, etc. So it's very, hygienic, very healthy to them. It provides also hygienic condition, reduces drudgery. There's a pulley there. So instead of the women bending down and lifting big bowls of rice for processing, the pulley is used and it reduces their workload, the drudgery. So it's very friendly to the women. And above all, it's very nutritious. It has a lot of vitamin E. The power boiled rice have a lot of vitamin E, vitamin B, and then also minerals, slow in digestive and lower glycemic properties, etc. And then I must say that through TAAT, we have added one other product to it, the infant flour for baby feed. And also even the black rice, well processed and well packaged, and it goes to the supermarket. In fact, we visited the market where we conducted a study. We used Cote d'Ivoire as a case study, and our colleagues from Nairobi and Cotonou came. We went, visited partners, very interesting. The way the products are going to the supermarket, and also we went to the open markets. These are segmented markets. They are target groups for the open markets, and the women there expressing the varieties that they want and etc. And they know the variety by name. And I said, well, that is wonderful. And they know the characteristics. So, very strong feedback, but that's what we are working on. We're responding to their needs. So the post-harvest technology responds to the needs of women. The RC thresher, for example, is very light, it's less expensive, women can move it around, it's very women friendly. And above all, we have trained, fabricators. We took fabricators to Benin, trained them. So in the countries, they are the ones manufacturing or let's say fabricating the equipment in support of the women. Côte d'Ivoire, the government has contracted the one we trained to produce for a lot of women groups within the country under a project. And we visited the fabricator. It says Niger has also ordered some of these equipment that he is producing for them. So by building the capacity, training the fabricators is making a lot of impact. And going forward, we need to train more for them to support the women. So these are two markets. One is in Benin and one is in Nigeria. You can see that they are coming out with good quality, well packaged, well labeled, well branded. So access to market is becoming facilitated. Previously you process your rice and getting into the market is a problem because our post-harvest specialist has has estimated that in terms of quantitative and qualitative loss, we are losing about 42% of rice produced because it's either it's lost quantitatively or qualitatively, you process it and it cannot be used. But now with the technology we are deploying, the quality of the rice is as competitive as imported rice and consumers like it and they are happy with it. So the partners we are working with in fact, we have now 49 seed enterprises, and then we have other stakeholders like Extension, the women groups, the equipment fabricators, the donor projects, the media, the research university, the seed enterprises I mentioned, the millers and aggregators, farm organizations, and microfinance organizations. So we are working with 117 partners who have been captured here. You can see that the work entails a lot of partnership because TAAT, Africa Rice cannot do it all. Without partners, we cannot go far. So partnership is very important to us. So in conclusion and the way forward, I'll say that the approaches adopted to deploy the rice compound technologies, have shown strong and pointers towards our development objective. That's to achieve food security, to reduce poverty, and also import substitution, because we spend a lot in importing rice. Going forward, we need to strengthen the seed system of the target rice producing countries and build the capacity of the private seed enterprises in seed production practices and agribusiness management. We have to upscale the deployment of more climate smart varieties and hybrids. I didn't talk about the hybrid, but in the morning, I think it was talked about. It yields between 10 to 14 tons per hectare. So if we're able to strengthen the seed system, hybrids need very strong seed system. If we're able to strengthen the seed system for them to adopt it, we can go far. And I must say that Senegal is the first country that released rice hybrid. Let's give a clap for Senegal. Senegal, the first country to release rice hybrid, yielding about 10 tons per hectare. But we need to strengthen the seed system for them to be able to produce the seed and market. We need to really strengthen the rice value chain in support of the emerging women and youth enterprises, empower women processors and youth to produce and supply quality rice. Then we need to sustain and strengthen the existing innovation platforms and establish additional ones to upscale proven technologies and innovations. So at this point, I'll say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ernest. I think that's a very interesting presentation, which also had 3 components to it. Talked about the crop improvement aspect of it, the seed sector. Then he talked also about a bit of the processing. But one point that he emphasized is the private sector. And he says they have about 8 private sector groups that they are working with in Senegal alone. So that is the point that Dr. Hakim Bamijo raised earlier. So let's take a few questions, if there are questions from anybody in relation to that. So let me just open the floor for questions that people might have. Chief Dixon is going to kick off the questions, and then after that, we'll go at the back there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christy, and thank you very much to Anes and Dr. Fatunji as well. You see, we always say we are trying to get the private sector to take on our technologies. And taking the case of varieties in Africa, you know, and considering that most of these varieties are developed by CG institutions working with national systems to actually release the varieties. These are international public goods. And if they are international public goods, the private sector will not want to have a brokerage deal with seeds that he knows that the institution can give all Tom, Dick, and Harry. How are you guys coping with this IP and promoting the commercialization of your technologies to private sector? I want to share your views because we had a meeting and we were struggling with it.
Thank you. That's a very important point. We'll wait. Yeah.
Merci, docteur. Moi, je suis dans le secteur privé, responsable agronomique de la compagnie agricole de Saint-Louis, qui dispose d'une ferme de 2500 hectares pour le riz en hivernage et en contre-saison, et d'une usine qui fait à peu près 8 tonnes heure et qui produit par an, par jour 200 tonnes de riz blanchi. Mais on a un réel problème de variété, un couple de variétés qui nous permet de faire la contre-saison et l'hivernage avec un bon potentiel de rendement, surtout le riz aromatique, parce que c'est ça vraiment qui nous donne un peu plus de profit. Et on a réellement ce problème. On avait déjà soumissionné avec la variété dont on a parlé ce matin, comment on l'appelle encore, l'hybride, le Oriza 09, mais jusqu'à présent, on n'arrive pas à faire de la production de semences de cet hybride-là. On nous a promis plusieurs fois qu'on est en train de breveter, mais jusqu'à présent, on attend encore la réponse sur cette question-là. Le deuxième problème, c'est un problème aussi de chenille. Je ne sais pas si c'est une chenille légionnaire qui attaque souvent le riz et qui fait beaucoup de dégâts maintenant dans la région du fleuve du Sénégal. Donc, on a déjà 2 préoccupations, une variété, un couple de variétés qui nous permet de faire la contre-saison et l'hivernage en respectant le calendrier culturel. Je pense que ça, c'est un aspect très important. On a parlé d'Orulux, mais je pense que Orulux, c'est un peu pour les petits producteurs. Si c'est les grandes compagnies, ils ont besoin de variétés qui ont un bon potentiel de rendement. Orulux, je connais bien Orulux, mais ça ne fait pas aussi l'affaire des privés parce que son potentiel de rendement n'est pas très élevé. Donc, on a ces 2 interrogations sur le couple de variétés hivernage qui nous permet de faire un bon timing dans les semis et la récolte.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've had 2 very good points, which NS will respond to. Let me find out, do we have any of the women that would want to make a point? Any woman that would want to make a point on this rice issue? Okay.
Bonsoir. Moi, c'est Claire Machon, je viens du Bénin et je remercie le présentateur pour son exposé. Et en fait, j'ai beaucoup travaillé avec des transformateurs au Bénin sur la commercialisation. Donc, j'ai facilité l'accès au marché du riz. Et ma question, c'est de savoir depuis combien de temps cette variété de riz a été introduite au Bénin. Et parce que au Bénin, les gens consomment beaucoup plus le IR 841. Et je sais pas. Et le présentateur disait que le rendement à l'état de 4 tonnes, ce qui est vraiment très intéressant. Si vraiment on peut vulgariser, bon, je ne sais pas si ça va être possible encore, hein, parce que pour la variété 841 au Bénin, je crois que les gens sont vraiment organisés et un grand travail est fait. C'est vrai que le rendement là-bas aussi n'est pas négligeable. Bon, en fait, ma question, c'est de savoir depuis combien de temps cette variété est introduite et comment ça se passe sur le terrain, parce que je ne connais pas trop. Merci.
Okay, and the last question just by your side.
Okay, merci beaucoup. I will go in English so that Dr. Asiedu directly understand my point. It's rather a comment, not a question, about the seed production. For the phase 2, I guess they have already thought of it. It will be good that we go beyond seed production practices, but rather talk about seed businesses. Okay, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Mathieu Ayena, and I'm a research assistant at World Vegetable Center in plant breeding, so based in Benin. We did just a recent need assessment for seed producers, and that was in vegetable, but from my experience, that also applied to many of the crop. We are producing the seed locally. And the major issue is with marketing and the business aspect of the seed, not much on the production side. Of course, the production is still, they still have need technical know-how, but how to forecast the demand is very critical. And the second point is about Dr. Dixon's point. I want to share an experience we have at World Vegetable Center.
Very briefly, please.
Yeah, sure, briefly. We have an African vegetable business consortium, and World Veg is also developing improved varieties for vegetable, and that it's a public goods. But how do we make the private sector get interested? We have some exclusive line that can only be accessed by those companies which are member of the consortium, and they pay annual membership fees. So they have exclusive right for some time, and definitely those varieties end up falling in the public domain. But for some years, they have that privilege. So that can be an inspiration for the TAAT project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The lady here, I'm sorry, we'll take the very last one here, and then we'll move. Hello. I see lots of hands, but our time is, yes, please.
Ok, merci. Moi, c'est Oumou de Faso Kaba, compagnie sémencière au Mali. C'est juste pour dire que Africa Rice, à travers les différents projets, appuie beaucoup les compagnies sémencières dans la fourniture des semences de première génération. On a eu pas mal de nouvelles variétés cette année, surtout la variété dont il vient d'exposer, Orolux, qui est riz parfumé. On a déjà implanté plusieurs parcelles de démonstration et de production dans plusieurs régions du Mali. Donc, c'est juste pour les remercier et répondre à ce monsieur qui travaille, que Africa Rice travaille beaucoup avec les compagnies semencières qui est le secteur privé. Merci.
Wow, that's a wonderful one. Good. Please forgive me because I keep saying this is the last one, but then I keep getting hands. So let's, please.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais remercier les présentateurs depuis le matin. Je pense que nous avons reçu assez d'informations à travers cette foire. Mon souci, c'est par rapport à la mise en lien entre la production et les marchés. Moi, je pense qu'au niveau du Tchad, par rapport à la production du mil, par rapport à la production du riz ainsi que le mil et le maïs, nous avons assez de production. Mais le problème qui se pose, c'est la transformation et la mise au marché du produit, surtout au niveau des femmes, parce que si on essaie de voir l'effort que les femmes fournissent pour aboutir à ce résultat ou à cette production, je pense que c'est vraiment imaginable. Alors, il faudrait essayer de voir par rapport à la transformation, par rapport à la mise en lien et penser aussi à la plateforme pour que le marché soit partagé au niveau régional. Donc, si certains pays d'Afrique produisent moins du riz, je pense que d'autres pays produisent beaucoup, mais nous avons des problèmes de transformation, de conservation. Alors, dans ce sens, je pense que le TAAT devrait beaucoup réfléchir sur cela. Merci.
Merci bien. And the very final one. Go ahead.
Merci. Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Modou Thiam. Je suis le président de l'Union nationale interprofessionnelle des semences au Sénégal, qui est une association du secteur privé. Donc, nous remercions véritablement le CORAF, le TAAT, et je remercie le présentateur que je connais bien, Ernest, qui connaît bien la filière. Et à travers lui, peut-être, comme l'a dit tout à l'heure la dame de Faso Kaba, je remercie aussi le Africa Rice pour nous avoir permis quand même de disposer de beaucoup de technologies avec notre institut de recherche, l'ISRA. Donc, je voudrais simplement demander aujourd'hui, je sais qu'on est ensemble dans le COMRI, le COSEMRI, du moins, et il y a eu beaucoup d'activités que nous menons, surtout la mutualisation des marchés et la mise en marché aussi de beaucoup de produits que nous obtenons à travers l'espace. Je pense que c'est une très bonne initiative cette année. Je pense qu'il y a eu beaucoup d'échanges sur ce point. Maintenant, quand on parle de secteur privé, il faut que aussi on parle des obtentions, c'est-à-dire la protection des obtentions. Sur ce plan-là, je demande, est-ce que vous êtes en train de réfléchir là-dessus? Parce que malheureusement ou heureusement, dans tous les cas, nous sommes gouvernés par des instituts publics de recherche publique, ce qui fait que toutes les variétés qui sont obtenues tombent automatiquement dans le domaine public. Donc, à ce niveau, le secteur privé est là comme tout le monde. Il n'y a vraiment pas de promotion, il n'y a vraiment pas d'investissement. Tout le monde attend la soupe. Donc, est-ce que aussi, à ce stade où nous sommes, où véritablement on a besoin d'éclosion de variétés très performantes, est-ce que la protection des obtentions ne peut pas être un élément que vous devez déblayer pour orienter en tout cas nos États et les entreprises privées à aller dans le sens vraiment de la privatisation, c'est-à-dire de la mise en place des accords de licence pour que l'exploitation des variétés des obtentions soit plus optimale. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. So, Ernest, I'm just giving you 3 minutes to very briefly, you don't have to answer everything now, but just very briefly highlight a few key ones. Ladies and gentlemen, after Ernest's response, we will be going online and we will be hearing about wheat. Wheat is the other, so we have 3 cereals now. We started with sorghum millet. We are now on rice, we're finishing rice, and wheat is waiting online. That's why we have to move very quickly too. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, President. Yes, I think the first one was related to intellectual property, which has been something that we are debating on, because we are supported by public funds, and things we do are public goods. So I think as TAAT, family, and CGs, we need to come together to see how the way forward. Because like the hybrids, they are very good. I mean, they need to be licensed, they need to be, all sort of arrangement needs to be done, and they need legal understanding of this. Bringing the intellectual property organization, the UPOV, and the African Intellectual Property Organization in Zimbabwe. We talked to them. They are prepared to give us an orientation. We have arranged with them to give us an orientation. But I think it's something that needs collectively, as CG, based on who we are as public institutions, So, but we need to find some arrangement so that the good technologies will not be on the shelf. You see, this intellectual property can hinder, because the hybrids have been on there for a while, but they're still not moving. So we need to find a way. So going into tab 2, I am charging my colleagues here that let us make a priority. We have heard from Chief Dixon, we have heard from our colleague. So it's an issue because, I mean, having a variety yielding about between 10, 14 tons. And Madagascar is, I think, where we're having the highest rice yields. I mean, I think they have a special climatic condition is there, and rice yield very high. They are getting 14 tons per hectare on, I mean, farmers demonstration being conducted by the state enterprises. Then we talk about the Orylox yield. Yes, the Orylox is short duration, and by its chemical property, I think this also affects the yield. But because you can grow it 2-3 times, it compensates for the yield decrease. But rice, I think rice, I mean, what is important in rice is people look for the quality of the grain. You know, that is the priority. In many other crops, they will look for the yield and yield and yield. Rice, if the quality is not right, no matter how high the yield is, the market will not accept it. So these are things, but we also need to work on the yield. But it's 100 days, which is short duration, and you can do multiple cropping. Yes, seed, we should go for, I mean, I agree with you. I'm a seed farmer myself. I know the seed market is very tricky and very dicey if you don't develop the business aspect and the market aspect and the finance aspect. Then you do a lot and the impact will not be much. So the seed market, there's a constraint. I mean, all seed producers say seed marketing is a problem. Access to finance to, you know, support their business is an issue. So these are things, I mean, I think you're giving us, I mean, some thoughts that we have to reflect on going forward, that the business aspect is equally important as the production, or even more important. Okay, then other, possibly for lack of time, I think I've really touched on most of them, but those who need further explanation are available.
Thank you so very much. Ernest is available. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's thank Ernest and also thank Fatonji for very good presentations and also answering our questions. We do have a rapporteur for each session. The rapporteur for this session is Wale Abiyoye on the other side. So he is capturing all these key issues. And one fundamental issue is the whole issue of IP. Intellectual property when it comes to work that involves the CG. And I think going forward, not just in TAAT 2, but in one CGIAR is something that has to be put on the table so that there's clarity. But I also want to remind you that on Thursday, we have a special private sector panel in this forum. And there we will bring a number of private sector people together so that they will be addressing some of these issues. So please, you check your program, you will see it's there. I think it's on Thursday, the private sector panel that will focus more on private sector issues. Ladies and gentlemen, can I request one thing of all of you? Can you please stand? Just stand a little bit. Get yourself off your seat. Get yourself off your seat. And please stretch a little bit, you know, stretch. Yeah. Let the blood flow. Okay. Very good. We are going to have one final one and then we go for coffee. And this one is the wheat compact. Dr. Zeudi Bishao is going to be talking to us about wheat. We all like baguette. We like pain chocolat and all that. All that is wheat. So Dr. Zeudi, is he online? Okay. So please be seated now whilst we listen to Dr. Zeudi Bishao on the wheat compact. Once again, if you want to move forward, if you can't see very well and you want to move forward, there's a lot of space and a lot of seats. So please feel free.
Hello, good afternoon or good evening from Addis. And my name is AfDB. I'll be presenting, as has already been mentioned, about with TAAT with compact, sorry. And do you see the screen? Do you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. But it has to be put into presentation mode.
Yeah, that's
Excellent.
Fine. Okay, thank you very much, Kwesi, for the introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank CORAF, FARA, and African Development Bank for organizing this fair and for inviting us to share the experiences of TAAT with compact. The question is why wheat? I mean, that is an important question which we really need to ask, because we have developed this test for a crop which used to be grown in the temperate environment, but because of the technology now becoming one of the important major stable crop in Africa. And Africa is the world's biggest wheat importer with over 40 million tons in 2014 with $15 billion. So there is a huge deficit and there is a huge import at a continental level. So how we reverse this situation? That is why the TAAT with compact is there. And the main objective, as has already been said, is to bring transformational impact and sustainable increase of wheat in terms of increasing productivity, production, so that we can enhance food security, economic growth, poverty alleviation, or whatever, through scaling up proven wheat technologies and innovation which are out there, so that we can really contribute to wheat revolution in Africa to achieve wheat self-sufficiency. Maybe 10 years, 20 years back, we were being told that wheat will not be grown in Africa, which is not the case anymore. And you can see from the pictures which I'm showing you how wide, how beautiful the wheat production here in Africa. So one of the main focus, although wheat is grown in the tropical temperate highlands, for example, in Eastern Africa, the objective of TAAT is to bring wheat into new frontiers in the Sahelian agroecology of Central and West Asia, which we have already working in Nigeria, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, and even in some of the regions like Senegal or what have you, wherever it is possible to make us a double cropping, where there is a possibility of irrigation in these regions of Africa. The wheat compact follows adopt what we call innovation platform, where we bring together the value chain actors all the way from farmers to the policy makers, so that we have a very common agenda of transforming the wheat production in Africa. So we are engaging different actors. It could be farmers, seed producers, input providers, extension, research, NGOs, traders, financial institutions, as has already been said, agro-processors, policymakers, or whatever. We are also working with TAAT enablers within the TAAT compact, where, as has been already mentioned, the issue of water management, the issue of soil fertility, the issue of entrepreneurship, of job creation, or whatever would be part and parcel of our activities. So what is really the success stories which we have achieved, which I want to share with you, and which can be replicated in some of the countries where we haven't reached yet. One of the critical elements is the issue of policy advocacy for wheat self-sufficiency to become a national agenda in target countries. For example, if you come to Ethiopia, there is high-level interministerial committees from Ministry of Agriculture, from the Finance, and from the Trade, where a government task force was being made, and that task force is actually the one leading the expansion of wheat in irrigated areas of Ethiopia. This is, to some extent, even very well known at the Prime Minister's office. If you come to Sudan, there is what they call Supreme Committee, which has been involved in making sure these self-sufficiency issues would be met. So from our activities, there is a very clear area expansion. There is a clear increase in production. There is a clear increase in self-sufficiency in different countries. For example, if you take Sudan, it was been around, I mean, wheat production was around 200, but in 2021, it is around 375,000 hectares, which in 2019-20, they have already reached 50% of their self-sufficiency. So this requires a very strong commitment and ownership from the national governments.
Hello, Zudi.
Yes.
Let me break you a little bit. If you can off your video, we're trying to see whether the slides will come out bigger. So you shut off your video because we can't see your picture. Aha. Okay, and then turn your video and then go into a virtual presentation mode. We want to see everything on your slide. Very important. As it is, we are not seeing.
The video is off now.
Okay. And then go to presentation mode at the bottom, just as you did the other time.
I just want to make it a full.
Yeah, okay.
Do you see it now?
We see it, but can you hit the presentation mode on the bottom of at the right side? Or?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Hit it.
It's okay?
Yes. If it can even go a bit bigger, is it possible at your end?
I tried to fit it, but I couldn't get the key. Yeah, anyway, sorry. So one of the area is about the issue of job creation and value addition, where the work with the youth and the women group, where farmers were being involved as a grain producers, seed producers, or in value addition to generate income. As you can see here, cooperatives were being involved in seed production, community seed production, for example, in Mali, women association in value addition in Sudan, or in Ethiopia. So there is this possibility of adding value into what we produce, the issue of transformation, which was being already mentioned before. So focusing on wheat technology, what are the wheat technologies and the innovations which are out there? One is climate smart wheat varieties. The second is the issue of good agricultural practices, as has already been mentioned. Third area is a seed system innovation, how to make sure that we bulk enough amount of seed so that the technologies are out in the farmer's field and can bring tangible results. And the fourth one is mechanized raised bed technology for irrigated wheat production. If you look into the climate smart improved wheat varieties, we have heat and drought tolerant varieties, which would help us to expand in irrigated areas, which has a high grain yield, 4 to 7 tons per hectare, which compared to African average of less than 2 hectares or 2 tons. High grain quality, which was been the case in the past, but now we have varieties with 13 to 15% protein content, and where over 30 varieties were being released between ICARDA and NARS collaboration during the SARD SC project. There are varieties in Mali, Nigeria, and Niger, which within the West African catalog can be imported and produced in those countries already. The second area is the good agricultural practices where different technologies are bundled from land selection to soil fertility management to water irrigation management to plant protection or whatever. One of the reasons for low yield is because farmers are usually partially adopt the technological package. They may take variety and the fertilizer, but not other things. But if you bring all this together and package and apply that package as a whole, the productivity, as we have seen in the innovation platforms, of an average of 4.2 tons per hectare. In those countries where the project is implemented, average productivity has reached about 3 tons per hectare across the 6 or 7 countries where we are dealing. So this lifted the average productivity from 1.5 ton to where we are today. The third area is the seed system innovation, as had already been mentioned, where we are working with the national programs and try to develop the seed roadmaps commensurate with area expansion. The availability of seed, access to early generation seed, availability of certified seed is a major constraint, particularly for self-pollinated crops like wheat, where there is a large volume, low profitability, or water, where in countries where they exist is mainly funded through public sector organizations. So here, for example, in Sudan, we reached out to partners with the private sector, having seen the market, having seen the area expansion and all this, the wheat production, the wheat seed production jumped from around 5,000 per year to around over 60,000 tons per year, with surplus for export to any country which would be interested. So not only that, we are also working with cooperatives or farmer organizations in areas where it is not possible for the public or the private sector to function. So wheat farmers can be organized and would be involved in seed production. The fourth is the mechanized rate-based technology. This is a low-cost and locally fabricated technology which was being jointly developed by ICARDA and fabricated by the private sector, which saves water, reduce seed rate, decrease farming costs, reduce fertilizer rates, and increase crop yields. This technology has been quite significantly disseminated, for example, in Egypt, and this technology can easily be imported and can be used in some of these target countries, as we have seen already. So to do that, as I've said before, we are working with the partners and different stakeholders. For example, if you take wheat technologies and packages, we are working with the National Agricultural Research Institutes in target countries. The idea is they validate the technologies, they demonstrate the technologies, they produce EGS, early generation seed and capacity development. In terms of large-scale seed delivery system, we are working with about 58 private seed companies, and to some extent also with public seed enterprises, cooperatives, and farmers associations. Technology promotion, we are working with the development agencies, extension services, and NGOs like Sasakawa Global 2000, where they exist and operate. For value chain sectorial association, like Farmers Association in Nigeria, Flour Millers Association in Ethiopia, or Seed Trade Association in Sudan will be involved as part of this partnership. Financing with production and value addition. There are rural microfinances in the countries where we operate, or large agricultural commercial banks, for example, Agricultural Bank of Sudan, which are specifically working with the farmers, providing credit services or whatever. We are working with the ministries, the enabling environment, the Ministry of Agriculture, as I've said earlier, the Ministry of Trade, and Ministry of Finance, which are working together to make sure that the issue of wheat self-sufficiency can be reached. So in terms of where we can get these technologies, what are the technologies and what are the source institutions? As you can see here, for example, for heat-tolerant varieties, early generation seed production, or good agricultural practices, as I've mentioned, the source could be the research institute, the seed system innovation. We can work with different seed companies, and for mechanized trade bed, or for conservation or agriculture or water. So for this, just to show you, maybe we are not present on, at the fair, but I just want to stream this video. If it is possible, you can be able to see it, what the Wheat Compact has done.
Zodi, have you ended because we lost you? Is that the end? Hi, Zodi.
Yes.
You finished. Are you still online?
I'm online. I'm just showing the video.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, whilst Zodi continues to connect with the video, I think he's made some very interesting points. Not only are they working on the improvement.
Are you seeing it or not?
No, we are not yet seeing. I think, yeah, the screen has come now. We saw your screen, but now, okay, all right, we see it now. The volume. And can you maximize it on your screen?
Yeah, I did it, but cannot go beyond that.
The bottom right corner of your picture, you might be able to maximize it because now we can't hear anything.
I have tried it.
Okay, I know. Jody, I think we may want to.
Yeah, I'm done now. I'm here. If you see it or not, I don't know. I'm done. For any, technology brokerage, I'm available, and I have left my email address, and I could be contacted anytime so that I can connect those who are interested to, for wheat technologies in the respective target countries where we are operating or at the card. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. Let's appreciate him. Zodi, thank you. Making time to give us this presentation from Addis Ababa. And you highlighted the work that has led to the development of the wheat tolerant varieties. That has led to increasing productivity. You also talked about seed system innovation, as well as some good agricultural practices that are all important for raising the productivity. But I think what is particularly important is the linkages you have created with government. You know, you mentioned that you have very strong links with government through the Ministry of Agriculture, because this is a priority of government to reduce importation. So that is very crucial. You mentioned strong private sector engagement, as well as your link with the National Agriculture Research Systems. And finally, you emphasize farmer associations and other associations that are also involved in wheat cultivation. And I think because wheat is cash, it's really about cash, it's the business, and you are doing very well. Thank you very much. Please stay online. We're going to see if there are any questions that anybody would want to raise. We'll take a maximum of 3 questions.
Merci. Je remercie le présentateur sur un sujet extrêmement intéressant qui est le blé. Il faut dire que
I need a translation at the end, right?
He hasn't got access to, I thought he has access. Is he not on Zoom? Huh?
I tried, but it doesn't work from my
Select
end.
it on your system. Select, if you look at the translation button, you will be able to
vous
select.
m'entendez les interprètes?
Audio interpreter, but it doesn't click, I don't know. Interpretation, for English, okay, go ahead.
Donc, je dis que je remercie le présentateur. Attendez, moi je suis sur... Bon. Donc, voilà, pour dire que le blé est une céréale extrêmement importante dans nos pays, parce que, comme vous le dites, la facture d'importation est extrêmement lourde pour nos pays, ce qui fait que toute recherche allant dans ce sens ne peut que, en tout cas, nous donner satisfaction. Mais moi, j'avais un petit problème. Vous savez, c'est des cultures typiquement industrielles, c'est comme le coton. Ce n'est pas utilisé largement par les populations, mais ça demande à être industrialisé avant que ça puisse être utilisé. Bon, aujourd'hui, nous, au Sénégal, par exemple, nous avons découvert à travers la recherche 8 variétés, je pense. 5 ont été homologuées l'année dernière, 3 variétés de blé tendre et 2 variétés de blé dur. Mais jusque-là, on ne sait pas exactement ce qu'il faut en faire parce que personne ne peut s'aventurer aujourd'hui à démarrer une production de semences certifiées, une production de blé, sans pour autant que, en tout cas, les industriels soient impliqués. Parce que le riz, nous, quand on le produit, on peut le décortiquer et aller vendre directement dans le marché. Mais le blé, il faut trouver quand même un industriel qui puisse le prendre, l'usiner, le transformer en produit fini pour aujourd'hui le mettre en marché. Donc moi je pense qu'aujourd'hui le problème là où nous avons des difficultés, c'est de pouvoir peut-être réunir l'ensemble des acteurs qui sont intéressés, surtout les acteurs finaux, pour pouvoir conclure avec un plan d'action qui nous permettra en tout cas de démarrer la production de semences et penser aboutir à une production de blé de consommation. Donc, si véritablement vous avez des exemples dans des pays qui ont connu le même problème comme nous, il serait bon quand même qu'on partage ces expériences. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, c'est ça notre grand problème. Bon, si on en est arrivé à ce niveau, c'est que, comme la pomme de terre, nous avons des partenaires européens qui nous disent souvent qu'en Afrique, on ne peut pas produire ni de la pomme de terre, ni le blé. Donc, ils encouragent la dépendance vis-à-vis de ces industries. Mais aujourd'hui, l'histoire de la recherche a montré que le blé peut être produit chez nous et les semences de pommes de terre aussi, il y a des expériences qui sont en train de se mener. Mais aujourd'hui, comment passer de cette dépendance à cette indépendance? Il y a tout un système à partager entre nous, surtout les pays qui ont déjà inauguré cette phase et qui l'ont dépassé. Je pense qu'il serait bon monsieur le présentateur de nous donner des exemples sur lesquels on peut s'inspirer pour faire un pas en avant. Je vous remercie.
Zawadi, let me do the quick translation of what my colleague, the president of the seed association here in Senegal, made as a comment. So he started by appreciating your presentation, especially the contribution to reduce the import bill of wheat on the continent, so by increasing productivity. So that's really very good. But he followed with a comment saying, this is industrial commodity. So this should be driven by processing units, in a sense that any new varieties that is promoted is directly linked to the processing unit. So these private sector investors in the processing and the transformation are key for the success of this introduction of new varieties of wheat. So he was requesting if you have a similar success models in other countries that they should learn here from Senegal, would be very much appreciated, so that we can easily replicate the model here in Senegal by replicating this successful model from other countries, whereby commodity seed production is linked to the processing unit for the sustainability of the system. I think if I follow well, that's what he tried to say. Thank you.
Zawadi, did you get that? We'll just take note. We'll take one or two more, and then you can answer.
Merci, monsieur le facilitateur. Je voudrais revenir sur la question du blé. Je pense que c'était en 2016 ou 2017, quand j'étais directeur général de l'Institut de recherche agronomique pour le développement. Je crois que c'était ici à ECOWAS même, où les responsables des institutions de recherche avaient dit que nous dépendons trop de l'extérieur par rapport au blé, et que dans tous les pays, tous nos pays d'Afrique, chaque matin, nous avons absolument du pain au petit déjeuner. Il fallait qu'on réduise un peu cette dépendance-là en développant la culture du blé dans nos pays. Alors, je suis heureux d'apprendre aujourd'hui qu'on est en train de faire un effort, mais est-ce que c'est dans le cadre des objectifs qu'on s'était fixés de réduire, je n'ai pas suivi au début, est-ce qu'on a essayé de mettre en exergue ce que nous dépensons en termes d'argent par rapport à l'importation du blé, et ce qu'on aurait pu faire comme ce que Assedio a essayé de dire ce matin-là par rapport à la consommation du riz, il avait fait la différence. Si on peut arriver à ça, ce serait une bonne chose. Mais parlant du blé, si on prend par exemple un pays comme le Tchad a un grand potentiel de production de blé à partir du bassin du lac Tchad. On l'a fait dans les années 70. Simplement, on a été découragé, bien sûr, nous, par rapport à la France, pour dire qu'on n'avait pas de bonnes variétés, notre blé ne pouvait pas bien faire du pain et tout ça. Aujourd'hui, on a même une industrie qui s'appelait les grands moulins du Tchad, qui aujourd'hui, il y a encore les bâtiments et puis comment on appelle, les granges qui sont restées. Donc, il y a un problème, ça veut dire que, comme le monsieur du Sénégal qui vient de parler, en même temps, on va travailler sur les meilleures variétés de riz qui seraient adaptées dans nos conditions. Ils seraient très bien en production de farine. En même temps, il faut qu'on développe l'industrie de transformation, parce que le blé, ce n'est pas comme le riz où on peut décortiquer simplement et consommer. Il faut arriver à le transformer en farine pour vraiment en faire un bon usage. Donc, je crois que le travail va de pair en développant donc la technologie au niveau des variétés et la technologie au niveau de transformation. Et il faudrait qu'effectivement on arrive à réduire notre dépendance si on n'est pas du tout combattu par les Occidentaux.
Okay, so Innocent.
Okay, very brief. My colleague from Chad mentioned that back in 2015, the same meeting was discussing about promotion of wheat and to reduce the dependence of import of wheat on the continent. And he's happy to see that something is happening now, but is still insisting that we need to do more in that line by linking again to the processing unit so that we produce these high yielding varieties, but are also responding to the need of this processing unit, and that's subsequently needed on the market. So is also repeating what our predecessor from Senegal said. So just to say, keeping that in mind, produce high yielding, drought tolerant, but link also to the processing as what the market needs so that would make sustainable system.
Thank you, Innocent. And Zodi, let's give you a few 2-3 minutes to give your comment on these two questions. Zodi, are you there?
I mute myself. Okay, I'm coming. Yeah, thank you very much for this excellent questions. And definitely, who could be a good example, you know, for wheat, for transforming wheat? Sudan, south of Khartoum, there was no wheat before 1980s. But today, with heat-tolerant varieties, that has been introduced, and that has become a stable crop. Definitely, I mean, that process of introduction, popularizing of the technology itself, of the crop itself, is an issue which needs to be done. And that could be a good example where Sudan becoming, you know, going toward the self-sufficiency, where this crop was used to be grown only in the northern Sudan with no, under rain-fed areas without, you know, going to this area. So to me, I agree that the transformation of the wheat production is an important element, because that is why we're saying it is not only about production, it is about value addition. We are trying to make sure that you produce, but you also add value and link into the existing processing facilities. For example, if you come to Ethiopia, in the low irrigated lowlands, wheat is not part of the culture. But today, wheat has been introduced, farmers were being involved in production, farmers started in consuming, as well as in value addition or whatever. This is a process which needs to go hand in hand with the value chain actors to be connected, making sure not only the technology of production, but also of the processing need to be there. I think this is where the commitment comes from the government, where the issue of value addition, the issue of aggregation, storage, transportation, and processing should be linked into the production activities, as we have been, you know, lobbying the government in Ethiopia or Sudan or what are we trying to make sure that these are linked. So I fully agree that that transformation into the, you know, of the product is really an essential element there. And this has to be a process which we need to go through, and we have to make sure that there is a government will and there is a government commitment, and, you know, the willingness of the farmers to take up the technology and all these things. So I fully agree that, you know, the issue of transformation is an important element where we need to focus as we go forward in TAAT 2 or thereafter to make sure that, you know, this happens on the ground. I think, I mean, all questions related to the same issue. I fully agree with the issue of aggregation and, you know, taking wheat to southern of Sudan, taking wheat to the lowlands of Ethiopia are good examples where we can start from. You know, that popularization, that demonstration, that continuous effort need to be there if you have to solve the problem of import, which we are currently, exercising. I mean, even in countries where wheat is a major crop, the issue of incentivizing the private sector, be it a seed producer or be it a processor, is out there. We should not deny that, and we should support that area of incentives and subsidies to make sure that it happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zodi. Thank you so much. There is one last question online, but this is from Adeniyi, and he says, every agricultural innovation, including improved seeds, is a composite technology. What measures are in place to deliver these additional technologies to farmers? So he's basically saying, beyond the variety or beyond the crop, it may require seed, it may require fertilization, it may require water, and what sort of, it may require policy, it may require capacity development. So what measures are in place to make sure this gets to farmers as a package? But I would want to assure Mr. Adeniyi Adediran that this is an exact subject that we are going to treat tomorrow in a panel session. And that panel session, if you look on the program, it's a panel session about the enabler elements for technology adoption. And we will be addressing this particular issue. So I would suggest that we address that issue when we get to that panel. With that, I want to thank Zodi Bishau for making time to speak to us from Addis Ababa. And we want to break for a quick coffee break. Today, unfortunately, because of the difficulty we had in the beginning, we've run out of time. But I want to appeal or request whether you would all agree if we can have 10 minutes of a coffee break and we finish these two so that it does not get carried over to tomorrow. Because the moment it gets carried over to tomorrow, then it becomes a cycle. The other alternative we can do is we go for coffee break now, then we take just one of the two, and tomorrow we start at 8:30 instead of 9. Yeah, so we'll just go for coffee break. We come back for just one, then we break. And then tomorrow, when we are fresher, we start at 8:30. If you like. No, I think it starts at 8:30, but the first 30 minutes, it was more like a conversation of what happened today. So we can sacrifice that because I think we've been having a lot of discussion. Yeah. So let's break, go for coffee, get some refreshment in 10 minutes, and then let's come back. We'll have one presentation and then we'll close for the day. Thank you very much. The time now is 0:37. So we come back 10 minutes to 5. 10 minutes to 5, that gives us some 13 minutes.
fortunate that I've been involved with the AGRF for the past 4 years. This is my fourth one. It keeps getting better and better. Last year in Kigali, they hit the 2,500 mark. We don't know the exact figures right now, but I understand it's above that figure. So records are being set every year. This is yet another record. I'm really impressed. Yesterday with the Presidential Forum, the focus was on Kofi Annan, paying tribute to him for having initiated this forum. I look forward to be involved in many more. This is an opportunity not just to showcase African agriculture, but also to help a lot of us reconnect and network with colleagues whom we have not been linked to for a while. So it's been a unique opportunity for me to reconnect with a lot of colleagues, including those I work with even in TAAT. So I'm very impressed.
All right, thank you so much. You are the coordinator for TAAT. How do you see this meeting and what is happening here impacting or influencing the work of TAAT in Africa?
This is a unique opportunity for us in TAAT to basically brandish TAAT. We have a small little cubicle here now which will set up like a booth. I look forward to seeing one double, if not triple the size of this. When one comes to this booth, it doesn't give that whole picture. So we have work to do. I would love to see roller-ups for all the compacts that TAAT is working with to show that this is TAAT truly comprehensive in its nature. So if you're looking for an opportunity to showcase TAAT, this is it. Thanks, Agra. We are going to take it and run with it. I'm looking forward to next year, like I said, where we'll make sure that TAAT is in full operation within the forum. There are a few TAAT leaders, compact leaders here. We'll make sure next year we'll basically advertise it and ask them to come here so that we have a big side event. This year we could not. There were a lot of events. We tried to, we could not. But next year we're going to put in the pitch early so that we'll have a side event in which we can have a day or have a day just to talk about TAAT, share with the audience what we have done so far and what we're looking forward to accomplish through this great program.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something that is very important, talking about TAAT. I think this meeting provides us the opportunity to hear from you. What's TAAT all about and, what's the journey so far?
What is TAAT all about? We all know that there's been a lot of research going on in Africa, especially within the CG systems, especially with the national program, some other advanced institutions. But this research only ends up in either publications or reports that end up on the bookshelf. TAAT was a very good concept conceived by the African Development Bank, especially the President Adesina, who said, hey, we need to transform African agriculture. But we have all the technology that are available, but we have not put them into use. So the whole idea of TAAT was conceived to basically take this technology, see how they can be upscaled to transform African agriculture. That was the basis on which TAAT was founded. We are in operation for just a little bit more than a year. And I'm really happy that the African Development Bank, who are the prime funders, are already considering a second phase of the program. They are very happy with the progress so far. Within a year, we have been able to demonstrate that we can deliver, and deliver big scale. So I'm really impressed, looking forward to the second phase that hopefully should start by the end of this year or early next year, so that we can expand TAAT to more commodities and to more countries, so that that transformation, which I believe Agra is all about, the African Green Revolution will happen through the transformation. TAAT is basically trying to support Agra for that Green Revolution to be achieved by transforming African agriculture.
maybe before I give you a brief, I should say what was the objective of this retreat. So it brought together the TAAT Clearinghouse team, and we are located in 3 geographical locations, Ibadan, Nigeria, Cotonou, and Nairobi. So we're, due to the pandemic, COVID-19, we organized virtual. So the purpose mainly was to say for the team as a new head of clearinghouse to work as a team by refocusing, refreshing, and reconnect in the sense that as a team, or if you want to achieve more, you need to work as a team. So you will be a place and time where we came together and we build this team spirit. Refresh to what is expected from us as a team clearinghouse. And that's why, in addition to the team members, we were together with the management of IITA, at least from the Director General, Deputy Director General, Kendashir, the Director Dixon, Alfred, and the PMU coordinator, Chris Akem. We also were blessed to have our partners, the director from AfDB, Martin Fregene, also our project counterparts within the BMGF supporting the clearinghouse, Audu Grema and Lawrence Kent. So that was more the participative way of team itself. So we get, as I said, the refresh to what expected as a clearinghouse to contribute to this transformative agenda on the continent that we need to feed Africa with a proven technology. So that's I've already in a collaborative way with other CG centers. So it was to refresh again on this mandate. Where are we? What are the challenges? So how can we adjust and really move forward? So that's that refreshing through discussion, work, interacting with our partners from the bank, FDB and the BMGF. That's, and also the leadership from ITA, that's helped the team to refresh to our mission and the vision. And that's also one the objective was to say, do we have that vision? Are we having really the same vision or understanding in terms of what is expected from us? So that itself was achieved throughout the discussion, and now we are more refreshed, ever ready to deliver on that noble mission agenda, which is to contribute to the transformation of agriculture on the continent by availing proven technology. And we have agreed the main driver to make this happening is avail quality seed to farmers. How do we work with the bank, the funders, different programs, countries, private sector companies, to this researcher to avail all this from breeder, foundation, and the certified seed to farmers so that we really make the transformation. And the good thing is that we have already some success stories. So it is clear that the model works on the continent. So if I give an example for Ethiopia or Sudan with wheat, whereby when before the program started on wheat in the Sudan, we're at 24% self-sufficient in terms of production of wheat in the country. But as we speak now, due to this access to quality seed, proven high yielding tolerant variety, drought tolerant varieties, we're able to reach to 50% self-reliant in 2 years. So this is something concrete and tangible that we can achieve. So that's why, as a team, we're able to work and strategize how do we can take this to scale. The good thing, we have this all support from our leaders, working with the bank to the high level leadership, through even to the level of the president and the whole entire bank team, to work with government to make this happening. So that's why we even briefly discussed the upcoming fora that will happen next year, that will be bringing all these countries, high level at the continent. How can we take this to scale, these success stories to scale? So this was really refreshing. So the next, also other output from this meeting, I must say, is also to have this framework of having one document, planning, and the budgeting, that the work plan that will guide throughout as we implement the coming year. So that also gave us a time to go through in detail and come up with very clear and measurable activities, indicators that will help to achieve this goal as we aim for. So that's exactly, if I put in a nutshell, what we are able to achieve in this retreat of 3 days as Clearing House team.
Alors les 3 jours de la retraite, pour moi, ça a été très intense, puisque je ne connaissais pratiquement personne avant. Je ne connaissais pas du tout l'équipe. Donc j'ai découvert l'équipe, les individus, les relations entre les individus. Alors c'est une équipe qui est basée sur trois localités. Donc il y a les gens d'Ibadan, il y a les gens de Nairobi et ceux de Cotonou ici. Donc c'est une équipe importante en nombre, importante en qualité, et une équipe qui, à part moi, a des mois ou des années de travail en commun. Donc pour rattraper tout ça, pour découvrir toutes ces relations, ça demande de la concentration, du travail, de l'écoute. Donc j'ai passé 3 jours à écouter beaucoup, à parler peu, mais j'aime bien les choses comme ça. Je pense que l'agriculture africaine n'est pas dans un très mauvais état en ce moment, mais on sait que les besoins qui vont s'imposer sur l'agriculture du continent vont devenir beaucoup plus importants dans le futur. Toutes les prédictions montrent que la population va augmenter et que le climat va rendre une bonne partie de l'agriculture plus difficile. Donc il va falloir améliorer et augmenter la production agricole sur le continent. Et je pense que c'est là que TAAT a un rôle très important à jouer, puisque le but de TAAT, c'est de transférer au niveau de la production, donc au niveau de ce qui se passe chez les agriculteurs, au niveau de ce que les consommateurs peuvent acheter sur le marché, de transférer à ce niveau-là toutes les choses fantastiques que les chercheurs ont découvert depuis probablement des dizaines d'années, mais qui ne sont pas encore arrivées là où ça sera utile, là où ça va permettre aux agriculteurs de produire plus, de produire mieux, donc de la meilleure qualité et en abîmant l'environnement moins. Ça, c'est là que les produits de la recherche, donc ce que les chercheurs ont produit pendant toutes ces années, c'est là que ça va faire un changement énorme. Et le rôle de TAAT, c'est justement de prendre ce que les chercheurs ont produit ils sont encore en train de produire, mais il y a déjà énormément qui a été produit, et de s'assurer que ça arrive au niveau où on en a besoin, c'est-à-dire au niveau des agriculteurs, des transformateurs, et donc ça va à terme améliorer la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle de tout le monde sur le continent.
Le manioc, de son nom scientifique Manejo exulenta, est un féculent qui ne cesse de démontrer son importance pour assurer la sécurité alimentaire en Afrique. Le manioc jaune est une nouvelle variété de manioc à chair jaune, enrichi en bêta-carotène. Le manioc est un aliment de base dont dépendent 300 millions de personnes dans 15 pays africains. Il apporte en moyenne 10% en calories quotidiennes à leur alimentation. En Afrique, la carence en vitamine A est un réel problème qui affecte majoritairement les femmes enceintes et les enfants en dessous de 5 ans. Pour lutter contre ces insuffisances, le composant manioc du programme TAAT, entendez Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation, et le projet Harvest Plus, en collaboration avec le laboratoire BioRave, ont initié des séries de sensibilisation dans 4 grands villages du Bénin, à savoir Massi, dans la commune de Zobodomé, Akwegba, dans la commune de Glazoué, Wedo, dans la commune d'Abomey-Calavi, et Tatonoucoin, dans la commune d'Adjo. À Massi, dans le centre d'expérimentation du laboratoire BioRave, producteurs et consommateurs ont accueilli à bras ouverts la sensibilisation.
I want everybody to watch here. Everybody clap. Okay. So listen to this very important thing. We get vitamin A from palm oil, from carrots, but then we eat a lot of gari. So it is there that we have already put vitamin A there. And it's easy to have it. You don't have to go and buy. There are about 3 ways to get it. Either you take medicine, either you add it to some food. But then this cassava you are harvesting, you have manufactured vitamin A in your cassava roots already. This cassava can be used to process a lot of things. So it will give you more money. Instead of just harvesting and selling this cockroach, no. You have to produce.
Colleague, if there are some people outside there, can somebody alert them? We are starting the session now. Okay, I think we can begin. We are now going to hear from Dr. Yonga Munyaraji, who is a leader of the TAAT Maize Compact, and he is with the African Agricultural Technology Foundation. So Jonga will take us through specific experiences on maize, which is another very widely used commodity all over. So I hear he's supposed to be virtual. He was there a short while ago, but now I hear his system has. And Jose, I think Younger has had a problem of internet, so he's logged off. But Jose Commander is there from Alliance of Biodiversity and CIAT. And Jose is head of the High Iron Bean Compact. So we'll like to hear from Jose. Jose, I hope you are ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
Okay.
So we just need you to share your screen.
All right.
And then we can begin.
Maybe just load the presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay.
If you can put it in presentation mode. Excellent.
Okay. So thank you very much. I want to appreciate the TAAT Clearinghouse and as well as CORAF for organizing this event and for giving us an opportunity to speak about the TAAT technologies. So I'll be speaking about the TAAT High Iron Beans Compact, and I'm presenting on behalf of my colleagues in the TAAT Compact. So first of all, why high iron beans? Beans are actually grown in more than 4 million hectares across Africa. It's quite an important commodity. Traditionally grown for subsistence, but has evolved to become a market-oriented crop. In East Africa, it's one of the most actively traded commodities besides maize. It's very critical for food and nutrition security. So besides being an affordable source of protein, you can call it the poor man's meat and a choice for the rich. It also has minerals, a lot of fiber, vitamins, and all these offer a lot of health benefits to those who consume it. In East Africa, consumption on average per person per year is about 30 kg, so quite a substantial consumption. And specifically for the HIB Compact, we decided to focus on scaling high iron and zinc beans. And these are biofortified, specifically bred to increase their iron and zinc content so that they can be able to address micronutrient deficiencies. Specifically, iron is quite important for women and children because for children, it improves cognitive and physical development. For women, it improves the iron levels. And zinc is also quite important for boosting immunity. So especially during these COVID times where people are probably given zinc tablets when they go to hospital, these high zinc beans could offer an opportunity for boosting immunity. So how do we operate in the high iron bean? We operate through what we call the Pan-Africa Bean Research Alliance. And this is a network of bean research or researchers across the continent. In Eastern Central Africa, we have what we call the Eastern Central Africa Bean Research Network. The countries marked in green. In Southern Africa, we have the Southern Africa Bean Research Network that comprises the bean programs in the southern part of Africa. And then in West Africa, which is the latest one, we have the Western Central Africa Bean Research Network, which is based in Benin. So besides the national programs, we have private sector partners who are part of the PABRA network, other public sector players. We have universities, NGOs, processors, CBOs, all with the aim of, generating and disseminating bean research products for the benefit of value chain actors. Now, aside from the PABRA network, the way in which we operate within the various countries is we look at the various segments of the value chain and try to identify, where we can intervene. So we define what we call the production hub. That is where production of the beans is done. So that's where we focus on variety targeting, the seed system, the good agricultural practices that will raise productivity, and all those technologies that will be able to raise productivity. And so we've mapped out in Africa where the beans are actually produced. Then we have what we call the distribution hub. These are mainly the aggregation centers, areas where the beans are distributed, where you have warehousing facilities and so on. So these are basically the trade, hubs. And then at the very end, you have the consumption hub. That's where you have the markets, you have processing facilities, and where you have beans actually sold to the consumers. And so what we call this is the commodity corridor approach, trying to integrate various innovations so that we can intensify, not just at the production level, but across the various segments of the value chain. Then cutting across, of course, we look at other aspects like nutrition, mainstreaming of ICT services, gender, policy, and building resilience through climate smart technologies. So along the bean corridor, there are then opportunities that come up for various value chain actors, especially the private sector. If you look at the production hub, there are challenges like low productivity, poor access to inputs, lack of capital, lack of adequate knowledge on production practices. But these challenges also offer opportunities for public and private sector actors to play their roles in providing solutions. So for example, for the researchers, this is where then we need to do demand-led varietal development. If you're talking about challenges with soil fertility, this is where you have then providers of soil fertility solutions coming in. If you have challenges with input supply, this is where you have opportunities also for agro dealers, for instance, to be able to provide these kinds of solutions to farmers. If you're looking at the distribution hub, challenges of low volumes, scattered production, lack of storage infrastructure, drudgery. These also offer opportunities in terms of commercialization. We have, for example, youths offering threshing services, services like drying, facilities like solar bubble dryers, aggregation services, warehousing, and so on. The processing stage, again, we have then opportunities like product development for beans, canning and packaging, and so on. And then also in the marketing, there's also the opportunities for marketing the various products that come along in the bean value chain. So which are the technologies? We started off by looking at the countries that have already released the high iron and zinc bean varieties. And these were 31 varieties across 8 countries in Africa. At that time, these were mainly in Eastern Southern Africa. And so the varieties were mainly, the focus of the TAAT compact was mainly in those countries. So we have all these varieties across those countries, but because of regional agreements on sharing of varieties, we have fast tracking of the release of some of these varieties in other countries. So these varieties fall under different market classes. So some of you may have seen these different colors of beans. You have the red mottled, red kidney, speckled sugar beans, roast cocoa. You have the navy white, small red, type, black beans, yellow, and yellow green. And so consumers actually prefer different types of beans, depending on the market. Some of them are good for canning. Some are good for processing, and so on. The yellow beans, for instance, are, people quite like it. They say some people feel like it tastes like chicken. So they're preferred by consumers for very different kinds of traits. In West Africa, in Cameroon, they've released quite a number of varieties as well. For example, this is what is listed on the table there, 11 varieties. And we are working with Cameroon also to share some of this material with the neighboring countries. For example, IRAD in Cameroon has shared 6 of these varieties with Central African Republic And we are under the PADECAS project, which is also an AfDB initiative country program. We'll be trying to get these varieties released and scaled also in Central African Republic. So a lot of breeder seed production for this 15 tons of these 6 varieties that are quite popular in Cameroon. So there's entrance of this high iron bean into also the West African landscape. Some other technologies here, the good agricultural practices, organic and inorganic fertilizers, various companies producing blended fertilizers that fit various agroecosystem, options for seed dressing, companies like Syngenta having Apron Star, various cropping systems that are suitable for beans, options for pest and disease management, herbicides, climate smart agriculture practices. We're also encouraging conservation agriculture practices, for example, options for mechanization, both in land preparation, weeding, processing, and even post-harvest management. So working with private sector to, make sure that these technologies are available to farmers for them to be able to use them. Then the other set of technologies include value-added products. There are 2 mainly classes of value-added products that we've promoted. One is the pre-cooked beans, and the other one is bean-based flours. So with beans, a lot of people usually complain about the length of time it takes to prepare them, having to boil them maybe for an hour or so. But then with the pre-cooked beans, which are now available in several markets, supermarkets, they are already pre-cooked, pre-boiled, packaged, either wet or they're dried. And so within 10-15 minutes, you can be able to prepare your meal. And this is important, especially for urban consumers, who are seeking affordable foods, easy to cook, and they don't have a lot of time to get, to be able to cook the beans. So we are supporting private sector in developing and promoting these products in terms of looking at the recipes, looking at fine-tuning, doing various sensory evaluations so that we capture exactly the attributes that consumers want in these processed products. Also building capacity of these processors in meeting the quality standards, working with the Bureau of Standards in the various countries. Also opportunities for youth in terms of aggregation of raw materials, also in marketing of some of these products. This is one of the entrepreneurs, a female entrepreneur in Rwanda, who actually started at her backyard, mainly working on the bean-based flour. So currently, she runs a factory. She's employed up to 11 people, including family. And from there, she distributes the bean flour to 40 other shops. Also working with the Ministry of Health and NGOs like World Vision to be able to scale some of these bean-based flours. So how do we operate within the HIB Compact? The PABRA that I described is sort of at the center of it, coordinating all the actors. Then the focal persons in the countries are the National Agricultural Research Institutes, because they're the ones who actually release these varieties. And then we work very closely with the local and national governments, not just the Ministry of Agriculture, but also the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education. For example, through the school feeding programs, schools are able to adopt some of these HIB varieties and also to create awareness in the communities around the schools. Other scaling partners, including the country investment programs, I gave the example of PADECAS and others, and non-governmental organizations. And the private sector, off-takers are at the center of it, because this is where we actually are able to estimate demand for the high iron beans, and then work based on that demand, how much volume, what quality of which variety, and then develop seed roadmap so that we are able to meet that grain demand. Working with processors, working with organized farmers, seed enterprises. A lot of these varieties are licensed to private seed companies for them to be able to scale them out, multiply the seed, and make them available to farmers. Agrochemical companies, I mentioned some of those good agricultural practices that require some of those agrochemicals. and then agro dealers who are actually for the last mile delivery of those inputs and services. So we work with all these partners in creating awareness, in creating demand, and then also streamlining and making sure that the needs are met of the various value chain actors. In West Africa, also, besides the traditional partners, we've partnered with army, prison forces, orphanages, this is Cameroon specifically, faith organizations, school feeding programs, I mentioned that, health centers and so on, to be able to scale out the high iron and zinc bean varieties. Very important is engagement with governments, especially local governments in some of the countries like Kenya. Agriculture is devolved. So the county governments have played a key role through the extension officers in spreading the message on the HIBs, and also training the farmers on how to maximize on inputs so as to be able to get the best productivity. Also, through the school feeding programs, also the local governments have really played a key role in ensuring that the HIBs are scaled using that approach. Some of the achievements of the HIB Compact, quite a number of people trained, close to 100,000. We have new entrepreneurs who have come into business quite right across the value chain, from the seed to processing to production, grain, and so on. We've reached close to 1 million beneficiaries in the last couple of years, 47% of these being women. So I mentioned that we have the 31 market preferred HIB varieties, the gaps, the value-added products. These have been promoted in over 10,000 campaigns and promotional activities, working with the governments, working with the, the non-governmental organizations and so on. Close to more than 10,000 metric tons of certified seed have been produced. There's been very good production increase in Zimbabwe. We've seen yields increase in the intervention sites from less than 1 ton per hectare, actually 0.6 tons per hectare, to 1 to 1.4 tons per hectare, resulting to additional food increases across the 8 countries. Quite important, which we could not reach the scale we reached without, is also the catalyzing of additional investments. So it's not just the central funds from TAAT, it's also leveraging on other independent initiatives that are operating in the countries, working with the country programs, not just AfDB, World Bank, but also other bilateral donors. So some of the lessons we've learned in the scaling of these high iron and zinc beans. One important thing is about awareness creation, the aspect of nutrition. Besides the protein, that additional aspect that you get from the micronutrient enrichment is something that is quite appealing to various actors. So that awareness creation on not just the nutrition, but also on how to increase production using the good agricultural practices. The other point that is quite important is structuring of markets in the bean corridors. So the bean corridor approach has been quite instrumental, because without the market, the farmers will not be incentivized to produce. So that structuring, looking at what the demand is for which varieties, what volumes, is quite a good incentive for even seed enterprises to invest in seed, even for farmers to have demand for that seed. The other aspect is also facilitating organized supply of quality seed. For legumes, it's quite more difficult, especially for beans, because they're not hybrids. So there are a lot of, recycling of seed and so on. So it needs quite a lot of facilitation, organized supply, explaining to farmers the importance of changing their seed at least once in every 3 seasons. Another important aspect is inculcating a commercialization mindset, really working closely with the private sector, incentivizing them to be able to invest in various products and services. And more importantly, also, ensuring that national programs that we work with don't just focus on research, a few trials here and there, but they also have a commercialization mindset. They broaden their partnership, they engage the private sector to be able to reach the scale that is expected. Quite important also is enhanced engagements with governments. I mean, the kind of resources we have through the grants cannot match by all means what is available through the country programs. So that has been quite instrumental in reaching scale, and also important is inclusion of women and youth in the activities that we operate. So thanks a lot. I welcome questions and discussion.
So much for this presentation on the high iron beans. As you indicated, this is a very good source of protein. And in some cases, especially when you are dealing with the poor or the people with less resources to spend and who cannot buy meat, this becomes their meat. So it's a very important commodity. We don't just want to talk about the cereals all the time, but also some of these elements. I'm going to open the floor for 1 or 2 questions that may be there. So if anybody has a question on this bean presentation, please, this is the time for us to do that. As I indicated, Dr. Jose Kamanda is with the Alliance Biodiversity and CAAT. But he has led the high iron bean compact and is now available to answer any questions or comments that anybody would have. Any? No question. Oh yeah, I see a hand.
Will Josie hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Josie. My experience, as you know, through all the countries that we are delivering the training implementation is that a lot of African small-scale farmers they co-crop beans with maize, and my question is, how close are the conversations between the beans compact and Jonga in the maize compact, so that they are not seen as separate entities in terms of the application of inputs, etc. Because the reality, as we all in the room know, is that many African farmers are planting maize and beans in the same field. Sorry, I should have started by saying thank you for a very impressive presentation, Josie.
Josie, hold on, there's a second. Josie, were you able to hear what was asked? Okay.
I got it.
So
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. But one more question before you try to answer.
Okay.
Ok, ma question est la suivante. Ce haricot riche en fer dont on parle, est-ce qu'il y a eu un travail de génétique pour qu'on l'appelle aujourd'hui riche en fer, ou bien c'était une variété d'haricots connue déjà depuis les temps et qu'aujourd'hui, dont on veut juste faire la promotion aujourd'hui? Mais il y a eu un travail dessus, de génétique, de croisement, pour le rendre riche en fer. Merci.
Jose, were you able to turn on your interpretation button? Jose?
Yes. Let me respond to those.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so the first question was about the mixed cropping systems that most farmers in Africa use. Indeed, yes, we are working with the maize compact, not just the maize compact also, but with the clearing house, especially called WUMA. But the way that farmers usually intercrop the maize and beans is that such that they put the maize and the beans in the same hill. So there's a lot of competition for nutrients. There's a competition, there's shading. So you're not able to get the optimal yields that you will get. So the strategies that we are promoting now is a system where you have a row of maize or 2 rows of maize, and then you have 2 rows of beans. So that way you're able to get much more optimal yields from the field, as opposed to the traditional practice of putting the seed into the same planting hole. So indeed, we've been able to work with the maize compact, but also with our scaling partners, the NGOs, to be able to promote those mixed cropping, but using a system that will produce a more optimal yield. Then the other question was whether or not just looking at the varieties that exist that have high iron and zinc. There's actually a history on this. Much earlier, there was work that showed the micronutrient deficiencies that exist in Africa. Iron is one, zinc is one, the other one is vitamin A, and the other one is iodine. And so because of that, what was initiated was what was called at that time, the Biofortification Challenge Program, which then transformed to become Harvest Plus. So there are many research organizations, that's the time when they, bred some of the varieties, not just for beans, there's also for pearl millet, there's also orange fresh sweet potato rich in vitamin A, maize rich in vitamin A. So there have been efforts to improve the varieties by enriching them with micronutrients. And the advantage of this is that, many countries came up with fortification rules. People in urban areas, when they buy maize flour, for example, it's fortified with these minerals. But the people in the rural areas, they don't buy food from the supermarket. They grow their food and they eat it. So the idea was to be able to ensure that these micronutrients are present in the foods that those smallholder farmers grow and eat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the effort you made to give us this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have come to the end of today. I know it has been a very long day. We started with a lot of technical challenges. Now, what that has done is it has left us with things that we still haven't done, but we can't do it today. Everybody's tired, I can see that. So we're going to close today. The committee will meet. We'll put our minds together to see how we'll do it. But definitely for tomorrow, please, let's make sure we are here by 8:30. 8:30, if you get here before, that's fine. You chat around. 8:30, we start. So please be here by 8:30. Because this event is also being shown virtual and people are logging on, we cannot continue to be pushing the time. So tomorrow we will try as much as possible, even the ones we haven't done today, we're going to discuss, but we may not just continue that one. We will find a scheduled time to put it in so that tomorrow we do what has been scheduled. Otherwise, we stand the risk of missing some of the online people, including some of the speakers, because they all fix the times that has been given to them. So with that, I would like to thank all the presenters today. I want to start from the opening addresses from our dignitaries, then followed it up with the 3 lead presentations, and then we've had 4 compacts that have presented. We'll find a way in which we can cover all those items that we have not covered. Nothing will be lost. We'll make sure we'll do it. So have a good evening, and please remember to be here on time tomorrow. I guess the bus that picks people from the hotels, they have to be alerted. So the bus gets there in good time to bring them in here for 8:30 start. Okay, thank you very much.